To begin this podcast, I would like to first thank Lily Schmidt, Director of the Milton Freewater Public Library, for allowing me the generous opportunity of working side by side with professionals in the field 6 days a week for 6 weeks straight. Her constant guidance and humorous approach made the internship a true learning experience. I would also like to thank Erin Wells, the Director of the Walla Walla Public Library, for allowing me to conduct field work with her. Working on a community program under her guidance was a great introduction to what I hope will soon be my future career. A small disclaimer: I am not making any claims that all libraries operate in the same way. I am merely recounting my activities based solely on my experience in my own public library. Instructions. This podcast was designed with simplicity in mind. Some topics will be condensed for the sake of creating a linear listening experience. We will be following a chronological timeline of topics, and each section will have the timestamp noted. Please skip to whichever topic you would like to listen to first. The full schedule we will be following can be found on my portfolio if you would like to follow along. Topic number 1, Introduction to the Circulation Desk. For my public library, the circulation desk is the central hub. Though there are many activities that go on behind the desk, this section will provide a rundown of what goes on at the front desk. Included in this topic is CD, audio, and book processing. We will go over policy creation, implementation, and enforcement, and take a look at the privacy issues every library encounters. We will also go over community programming and event coordination. Remember to check out the individual timestamps to skip over topic sections. Section number 1, Processing. Processing is a mostly uniform set of steps, though minor things like barcode placement, security labels, and the ownership stamp can vary. Though the laminating process is different for soft and hardback covers, the plastic should be smooth and without wrinkles, which can damage the paper cover. For paperbacks, a sheet of self-adhesive plastic should be carefully measured out and pressed slowly onto the book. Doing one side at a time will keep the sheet from sticking to an inopportune spot. A ruler or other flat tool can be used to smooth out the air pockets so the sheet will seal correctly. Cuts should be made in the corners prior to placing it on the book cover to avoid unsightly bulges at the edges. Hardbacks require only a thin plastic cover that is measured and taped onto the inside of the book. Both, however, require a date of what month they were added to the library catalog, a unique barcode, a sticker that declares their genre, and the call number. The ownership stamp is placed in the bottom right corner of the first page. The call number is typed and printed and contains the Dewey Decimal classification number for that book. For audiobooks and CDs, the barcode, the labels, and the ownership stamp are all that is needed. Section number 2, Policies. In this section, we will look at policy creation, implementation, and enforcement. To simplify, I will use the COVID-19 epidemic as an example. Quarantine posed many challenges for local libraries, forcing most of them to close, if only for a short while. The Milton Freewater Public Library was able to stay open the entirety of the pandemic, and they quickly adapted to the new government and CDC policies. The director, Ms. Schmidt, was kind enough to go over the creation of a policy with me, and explained that though she can make whatever policy she could want, it must be discussed with the City Council before she's able to go through with and enforce it. The mask policy created a rather difficult situation, since it had become a politicized issue within the small town community. Some enforcement protocols included warnings to those who didn't agree with the protocols. The first offense, which is defined as creating a major disturbance, discomfort for another patron, or destruction of property, is a warning. A second offense, and the perpetrator is banned for a week. A third, and they are banned for a month. A repeat offender can be banned for a total of 6 months, although this is an extreme punishment that is not often warranted. Section 3, Privacy Issues. Privacy issues are twofold at the circulation desk. As librarians, we are tasked with safeholding the personal information of anyone who holds a library card. Every 3 years, we need to update the patron's information in the SAGE system, which is the program we use. The Walla Walla Public Library uses the Evergreen system. When asking a patron's address or phone number, use only partial numbers or just a street name. Over email, clear questions can be used, but in public, it is important to never ask for a full address out loud. The second most common privacy issue is protecting information regarding what patrons use a library services for. As an example Ms. Schmidt gave me to help provide context, a mother walks in asking to know which books her daughter has picked out. because one of them had LGBTQI+ themes, and that went against her personal beliefs. A librarian would not be able to give any information regarding the daughter's book selection. In extreme cases, the library may choose to divulge information if the request comes from the police. Section number 4, community programming and event planning. A library's community should always be a priority. A community is what helps refine services and broaden the catalog. Every public library should have programs that engage its community. The Walla Walla Public Library was where I was able to conduct field work, and I had the chance to work on the finer details for an event geared towards our teens and children. Worried about the impact of COVID-19 on children's reading skills, the Youth and Children's Librarian wanted an event where teen volunteers would be paired up with young children to work on their reading skills together. It is usually the children's or youth librarian that will plan the program out, but the Adult Services Librarian in Milton Freewater wanted to do more. She decided an adult craft series, such as pottery painting and more delicate, complicated projects, would reach out to her adult community. Another way a library must view a community is the different ethnicities and cultures in town. The Milton Freewater Public Library has events every month in Spanish for our Hispanic community, who use our library in startlingly low numbers. The events the Adult Services Librarian created helped create a much larger community by creating inclusive programming that made a positive difference. I intend to bring her example of dedication to my future work as well. Topic number 2, behind the circulation desk. This topic will go over what happens behind the scenes to help a library run. These include budgeting, the acquisition of diverse and inclusive materials, ILL, and lastly, cataloging. All of these are vital to help a library stay connected to its community and to the network of libraries around the county and beyond. Remember to skip to the timestamp for a specific section. Section 5, budgeting. Budgeting is quite a complicated process for public libraries. Though academic, school, law, or corporate libraries are going to use different methods for breaking up funds, the Milton Freewater Public Library uses a simple method. Every month, a percentage of the overall funds are provided to the staff, including the general costs of building maintenance. The adult and children's librarians use this fund for any community programs or events, such as the summer program mentioned before. Director Schmidt assigned an at-home project for me, where I was given a set amount of funds for a take-home craft for children, teens, and adults. Each craft had different criteria. For children, I had $15 total to spend for at least 20 kids, and it had to be simple, easy for them to do, and that their parents wouldn't be necessary for the project. For teens, I had $30 to spend for at least 15 kids, and it had to be engaging and a little bit more complicated. For adults, I had $40 for 20 people at least, and it had to be something useful or tasteful. When I finished, I turned in a complete list with all items and instructions needed for the crafts for review. Section number 6, acquisition of diverse and inclusive materials. I had the privilege of being able to attend a meeting on diversity and inclusion with directors across the country. The main topic was how to identify and select materials that reflect a library's need to be a safe place for all people. Some of the most important points are to find books for all age groups that are not all about the difference. This can be best noted in children's books written by older adults. These books typically tend to focus on how human and friendly different or disabled children are, which completely bypasses the point that young children don't even realize how having a disability impacts a life. Children will always be children to children. Feeling the need to stress the human aspect of disabilities or mental illness is something that adults feel the need to express. An inclusive book can be described as having been written by someone with firsthand experience and understanding of another culture that has qualified them to write about it, and a diverse book can be defined as having been written by someone who belongs to a minority, has characters of color that do not fit into stereotypes or any other token roles. I was asked to find a new selection of books for teens, children, young adults, and adults that fit the descriptions above to show that I had a good grasp of the concept. My list of over 50 books had a spread of fiction, new nonfiction, and children's and baby books. Books that had not been in the catalog previously were going to be ordered. Section number 7, ILL. ILL stands for Interlibrary Loan, and this is something every library has access to. I was able to help prepare the ILL books before being collected by the courier, and I learned a lot about the process. Once a request comes in from a library that is part of the SAGE system, the book is pulled from the shelves and the name of the library requesting it is printed on a label. The book, with any other items on loan for that library, is sorted into a green canvas bag. A larger label with more details for the courier is then printed and placed inside a protective clear plastic pocket. The average wait for a book should be 1 to 2 weeks, though weather conditions can create severe delays, with the longest wait being 3 months. It is possible for libraries to request an ILL between other libraries as well. In one case, a book was not available at the Milton Freewater Library, so a request was made for the book to be sent from the Dallas Public Library to the Public Library of Weston. This is typically an uncommon request, and I had seen it only once during my internship. Section number 8, cataloging. Cataloging is something that requires a lot of thought about both the good of the community and its taste. Director Schmidt had done a wonderful job introducing a wider spread of political writing to the conservative community. A few tasks associated with cataloging are ensuring the books selected are registered in the library system and that their unique barcode is printed. Before this, however, it must be confirmed that this is indeed the book we are looking for. To check, it must be measured up to make sure the sizes are the same, with rounding up to the nearest millimeter. The number of pages is noted, and the edition is checked with the information on the front. Within the cover, usually on the top right corner, is the 4-letter genre marking. As an example, something belonging to junior fiction would have JFIC written on the top right corner. This lets the reader know that what genre it will say on the label is attached to the book's spine. Cataloging is a specialization I personally am interested in, and this was a great way for me to learn more about it. I would like to end this podcast by thanking you all for taking the time to learn a little bit more about the inner workings of library. I learned so much from this internship experience and fieldwork experience, and I hope to be able to volunteer again sometime soon. A big thank you again to directors Erin and Lily. Thank you very much for listening.